In this video, I'm going to introduce you to an interactive case study that we're going to use as part of looking at computer science teaching and what's effective in the classroom. This case study comes out of MIT's Teaching Systems Labs, which has a whole practice spaces component. So first of all, our topic at hand is computer science for all, and why is that hard? Pause the video for a moment and think about what goes into making computer science for all hard. What are the factors that influence that? So you might have said some things along the lines of, well, schools have all kinds of competing needs for student time. They have to meet standards. They have to make sure that students are progressing adequately each year. Teachers have not been trained for it in computer science. And then there's all kinds of other distractions on students' lives that may make it hard for them to learn and take on a new subject. So computer science for all is definitely a hard proposition. However, with practice, we can make it easier. So the Practice Spaces Lab comes from the idea that in order for us to be accomplished at something, if we want to be an accomplished jazz musician, we need to spend time doing that. If we want to be a great teacher, we need to spend time practicing how to teach. That means that along the way, we're going to make mistakes. Nobody became great without making mistakes in the first place. So these practice spaces are our opportunity to make mistakes in a safe environment without impacting our students. So let's try it. In this example, we're going to go through a lesson plan, a code.org activity that pairs students up to look at writing directions or algorithms down for building a Lego structure. So this lesson plan is already developed for you. You're going to come into the classroom as a substitute teacher for the day and start the kids off and lead them through this activity and walk around and supervise what's going on in the pairs as they build and write down information about their Lego structures. If you choose, at the end, you can consent to sharing your data for research, which will help the MIT Teaching Systems Lab to improve their information. This is the URL for it. You'll click on the link and it'll take you about 20 minutes to go through it. Feel free to have a piece of paper and a notepad there if you'd like to take some notes. During the case study, it's recommended that you use the Chrome browser, as that seems to work the best with the case study itself. During the case study, you're going to get an opportunity to read some material and then read a scenario about the students and how they're interacting, and then you're going to get a choice about whether or not you want to move on or if you want to talk to that student pair. It's going to record your responses, so you need to have some kind of computer with a microphone so that those responses can be recorded. When you get to the end of the case study, you can go back and you can listen to your responses if you want to listen to them again. All right, so I'd like you to pause the video now and go do the case study. When you're done with the case study, you can come back here and watch the rest of the video before you do your discussion. So now we're going to talk a little bit about the case study and what you noticed, how you interpreted it, and how you responded to that. So this is the framework we're going to be looking at. Everybody went through the same scenario. However, even though you went through the same scenario, you likely noticed different things happening in the classroom. So if you noticed the same things, you may have interpreted them differently though. So even if you noticed some interaction happening between two students, you may ascribe different reasons to it and interpreted what that meant. And then even if you interpreted it the same way, you may have chosen to respond to that interpretation differently. So everybody's going to be noticing different things, interpreting them in different ways, and responding to it in different ways. I want you to think about the differences in how you all responded and how you interpreted what was happening in the scene and what you noticed in the first place that made you think that way. This is going to be the basis of your discussion prompt in our course. As a reference for you when you go through and look back at the information, there were 4 student pairs: Greg and Jake, Terrell and Dustin, Molly and Deshawn, Claire and Aaliyah, and here's just a little bit about each of them. You can pause the video so that you can look back at this, or you can look at the slide deck if you want to see just the quick summaries of some of their interactions. I will go through them briefly. This is Greg and Jake's. This one is Terrell and Dustin. Here's Molly and Deshawn. And here's Claire and Aaliyah. So, in closing, we want you to think a little bit about some of the takeaways from completing this activity. Do you have any questions or puzzles about what was going on in your mind in that classroom? And think a little bit about how you might go deeper and share with others or somebody that you're mentoring about teaching.